Hello, welcome to how to play chess, setting up the board, and advanced moves. So here I'm going to teach you how to set up the board and some advanced moves. So, first we're going to want to set up white, which you might have coordinates on yours. Okay, so you might have a 7. Might have numbers on one side and then letters. Okay, if you do, then the 1 and the 2 is where you're going to set up white. But it doesn't really matter much, so don't stress. And besides, most boards, like lots of boards, don't have these. Some boards don't, but some boards do. Okay, so mine does, some might not. It doesn't really matter. So the rooks are going to go in the corners, okay? These two corners. So white's on this side, black's on this side. So white's rooks are going to go there, and then black's rooks are going to go there, okay? Now we've set up the rooks, okay? Now, next is the knights. The knights go right next to the rooks, and same thing with black's knights. Black's knights go right next to the rooks. Next is the bishops. Black's bishops go next to the knights, okay? And same thing with white's bishops. White's bishops go next to the knights. Now, here's where it gets a bit confusing, okay? Now, see how there are two squares left. White and black, okay? Now, on the white square, if you're white, right? If this is white, then the white square is going to go where the white queen goes. And then the black square on the other side is where the black queen goes. Okay? And if you set this up right, the queen should be in the same line, okay? And then the dark squares, the last squares, the white square and the dark square. So this dark square is where the white king goes, and the white square is where the dark king goes, okay? So the dark square is where the light king goes, light square is where the dark king goes. Okay. Now, last but is the pawns, okay? And the pawns are pretty easy to set up. Right in front of your pieces, you just make a row, like you're building a wall of pawns, okay? So that's how you set up with the pawns. And let's set up the pawns for the other team. We're just going to build a wall of pawns, and they're going to be ready to battle, protecting all of their pieces, okay? There we go. Look at that. All those pieces all set up, okay? And this is how you set up the chessboard, okay? So before you play the game, you must set it up like this, okay? Now, I'm going to teach you about the advanced moves, okay? So, one thing I'm going to teach you also is, so, here's the thing. So, the first thing I'm going to show you is castling. So, the knight can jump over pieces, but all the others can't. So, if there's a pawn there, the bishop can't go over there, because he's blocked by the pawn, okay? But the knight, however, the knight is different. The knight jumps. So the knight doesn't have to worry about other pieces getting in his way, because the knight can jump, okay? And so let's imagine that this happens. Let's imagine that you move your pawn forward 2, because remember that on the first time that the pawn moves, it can move forward 2. And so does black, okay? Your knight jumps over there, which, if we look, 1, 2, 1, okay? Now, look, next move, you'll be able to take this pawn, okay? And nothing's protecting it. But black fixes that. 1, 2, 1, uh-oh. There we go. Now, if you take that pawn, which is 1 point, then he'll take your knight, which is 3 points, okay? Now let's imagine you get your bishop out to there, okay? And then let's imagine that they move their pawn forward 1. Now, here's the special move. See how there's nothing in the way? Okay? You can do what's called castling, which is where you move your knight, your king, only once you're allowed to do this, twice in one direction, and then the rook goes on the other side. That is castling. Now, if there's something in the way, you can't do it. If a piece is attacking either of these spots, you can't do it. Like, let's imagine that this bishop is somehow right there and attacking that spot. You're not allowed to do it then, okay? Because then, let's imagine that the bishop could take, okay? So remember, 2 and 1, but right there you can't do it. Let's just put this back there, okay? So, dang it. So, there. Okay, so that's castling, and you can do it on the other side. If all these pieces were out of the way, then you can do it. But here's the rule, okay? If your king has ever moved, like let's pretend he moved forward and then moved back, now he's not allowed to castle, okay? Or here, right? He's supposed to be there, right? So now not allowed to castle, okay? No matter what, if you have ever moved your king from where he started, then you're not allowed to castle for the rest of the game. Now, the reason people castle is because it protects your king, okay? You're protected by all these pieces. And one way you can remember it is that the king, right? And then this is his pillow. Kind of looks like he's laying on there. And then these are his blankets, right? Kind of looks like a bed. Okay, I could imagine if I laid these pieces down, it would look more like it. Like that. Oh, dang it. But yeah, so that's castling. And then, here's one more thing. En passant. That's actually what it's called. En passant. I'm pretty sure it's French. So, let's imagine that you're right there, okay? Because the reason your pawn is there is because you want to make it so that the players can't, if they move their pawn forward, you'll take. But, oh, what? They just moved their pawn twice. So, now you can't take with that pawn. Well, that's a bummer. Nope. Because if you're over here, and then they move forward 2 spaces right next to you, you can go like this. Take and get their piece, even though you didn't actually put their piece. So it's kind of confusing, and you'll definitely want to practice this. Remember, if they move forward 2 spaces so that they're right next to your pawn, then you can take. But not 1. If they're here and then they go whoop, then you can't take. And here's another thing. If they move forward 2 spaces and then you do something else, and then they do something else, you're not allowed to take anymore. You have to do it right after they do it, okay? So that is en passant and castling. I hope you learned from this video. I hope that you can try to use these things. Remember, down below there are some things you can do to help you remember how to use these and remember to use them in your games. I hope this was helpful, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!